Today I want to give you a first impression of the ROG Ally, and if you might want to consider buying this in 2026. Before we start, maybe I should kind of explain where I'm coming from, or no, what kind of user I am, why I decided to get this, and my expectations of this device, because with those information in mind, you will kind of understand maybe why I got this, and more importantly, why for me this probably will work best. Because I already know that some of you will probably say something along the lines, oh, you should have gotten the better version, because this is, in air quotes, the lower tier model in this Ally series, because there is also the ROG Xbox Ally X. So this, if you can kind of rank it, this would be equivalent, maybe not necessarily in power, but kind of in the hierarchy of this set. It's equivalent to the Xbox Series S, and obviously the Xbox Ally X is equivalent to the Xbox X series. So now let's start first with where I'm coming from, or what kind of person, in air quotes, player I am. And more importantly, please keep in mind, I have had this device for 2 days. I sold my Switch. I am currently selling my Xbox Series S just to get this, and I got this at a very good price, refurbished, and that will get important later on in this video as well. So first and foremost, maybe let's start this up so the display is not black and the camera doesn't have so much difficulties focusing on this. So first and foremost, what kind of person am I? I am a film editor who only works on a Mac computer. I'm very familiar with OS X, and I have not that much kind of contact with Windows. So I always wanted to have a console. So first I had a PlayStation, and I'm not counting my younger years, but I'm counting the current years. I had, when I was 30, I had a PlayStation 2, 3, 4, and then a couple of years ago I bought myself an Xbox. Now I'm over 40. Maybe that's also important. So I'm not familiar that much with Windows, and this is basically a Windows system with an Xbox overlay, and that is also very important to kind of know. So yeah, I am a very familiar console user, and therefore I can cherish the environment of a console. And now many of you will say, oh, you should have bought a Steam Deck. We'll get to that in just a second. So I want a very streamlined console experience. So when I kind of saw this first, I thought like, oh, that's a Windows experience, and many reviews kind of tell you, oh, maybe don't get this if you're a casual gamer, and that is also very important. I am a casual gamer. I specifically got a device like this because I wanted a portable solution with a good, I switch it off, it goes to standby, and I switch it on and I can start playing again without having to deal with either boot up times and having to deal with updates. And this is also very important because, again, I can already hear people saying, you should have gotten the Steam Deck. And that is a very valid concern. So to summarize, I'm a Mac user. I'm not familiar with Windows. I am a console user. I am a casual gamer. And I actually want a device that I can kind of jump into real fast. So with all of that in mind, many of you familiar with this device will probably say something like, oh, you shouldn't have gotten this. You should not have bought this. You should have gotten a Steam Deck. Now, a Steam Deck, unfortunately, is sold out everywhere. You cannot get it. And it's very likely that this will still be a long time until you get it. Now, others will say, oh, you could have gotten this used. But the prices, here in Germany at least, for used devices are around 600. And not even with a lot of storage. Usually with the 64 gigabyte storage, I have no idea if that is actually enough to play Steam games. So that was kind of, yeah, making me hesitate getting a Steam Deck. So I familiarized myself a little bit more with this, watched a lot of reviews, and my decision was like, oh, you're not going to buy this. Well, if you buy it, you should kind of get into this with kind of very clear expectations. So now I was kind of selling my Switch and looking at refurbished sites and everything. Also kind of thinking about maybe giving my Xbox as a down payment for this. And I actually saw a couple of sites where I was able to do that. Then I saw this refurbished for 450 euros. So an amazing deal. And it was very clear to me, okay, maybe I should consider this, because 450 euros refurbished in excellent condition. You know, when you buy refurbished, you get these tiers of condition, and this was in perfect condition. And I can confirm when I got this, really good condition. And I don't regret this purchase in regards to the quality and the price. So 450 is actually a really good deal. So it was clear to me, okay, the price is good. Now, getting to expectations. When you watch a lot of reviews, everyone tells you, oh, these updates, they will bother you. And having Windows, it will also kind of put a huge dent into performance. And I have to say, that is pretty much true. However, when I pushed the order button, I told myself, okay, you need to be aware of what you're getting. You need to be aware that you need to put everything on low quality in terms of graphics. Although this has a 1080p screen, you should play everything in 720, which honestly, I don't see a difference. So I actually don't mind that. And putting everything on low, also quality here in Hogwarts Legacy in terms of graphic it's really good actually. Let me zoom in a little bit more. It looks amazing. Obviously, again, this is first impressions after 2 days. Yeah, I got it yesterday, and yeah. So my expectations in terms of performance were actually fairly low, and I was okay with that. And I think if you want to get this, you, especially playing a AAA game like Hogwarts Legacy, this is the only game I tested at the moment, because specifically I wanted to play this first. You need to kind of manage your expectations that the performance will not be that great if you're coming from PC. But me as a casual gamer, my expectations were really low. So I already went in, okay, image quality won't be that great, performance won't be that perfect. And I have to say, graphics, amazing. I really like the graphics. The performance, if there are a lot of enemies here in Hogwarts Legacy, you will notice a little bit of drops in frame rates. I'm a film editor, so from my perspective, I always consider 25 frames to be smooth, but now I understand why gamers always want 60 frames per second, because my expectation, oh, 25, that will be totally fine. It's not. It's a little bit stuttery, but it's only in those high peak moments, and I totally get that good gamers, not casual gamers like me, will kind of say, oh, it's unplayable, and I get that. But for me as a casual gamer, it's still fun to play, and it's okay if it stutters occasionally. And there are a lot of settings that I still kind of need to test and tweak to maybe squeeze out the best performance. And I already tested a lot of things here on this device to kind of improve performance. And I can totally say it, if you are able to manage those settings as best as possible, the performance will get better. And especially the performance when you start it up, it actually needs a little bit to kind of catch itself, and then it gets better. Speaking of settings, this brings me up to the first initial setup. And I can tell you, being a Mac user, and I don't want to make this an Apple versus Windows battle or something in the comment section. Please don't get me wrong, and please don't get offended. But it is extremely complicated, and I'm not the only one. All of these reviews that I watched before getting this were kind of warning everyone, hold on, you need to be aware of this. Because when you start up this device, you need to install a lot of updates. And it's not very clear where to get them, because you need to do Windows updates, you need to do ASUS updates. This is an ASUS device. Then you need to do app updates, deinstall all of the bloatware, because this is a gaming device. Nevertheless, it has Teams on it and Microsoft 365, which kind of tells you a lot that this is a Windows machine, right? And hold on, I said, what did I say? Windows, ASUS, app updates. Oh yeah, Armory Crate. Armory Crate is basically this game hub, command center for this device, where you also have to install updates. Then you also have the Xbox experience. There aren't updates, but you will need to install, for example, Steam, if you want to access your Steam games and stuff like that. So what did I say? Windows, ASUS, Armory Crate, apps, and potentially the Xbox. So maybe 5 places where you need to update it. And it doesn't tell you. If I wouldn't have watched the all of the reviews, I probably wouldn't have known that I needed to go to the ASUS app to install some of the updates. I would have been under the impression, okay, everything is in the Windows update center if it comes down to those system things. And I was mistaken. You need to go to Windows for Windows specific updates. You need to go to ASUS for BIOS and hardware specific updates. Again, in Mac, it's everything in one place. Then you need to go to Armory Crate, which I can understand that this is a different place, but it doesn't prompt you in the beginning that it needs to go there to do updates. And especially the bloatware. I wouldn't have known that I needed to deinstall all of that stuff and update that stuff. So that's a little bit confusing in the beginning, and let you be warned, this will take hours. For me, when I do updates, to be fair, when I do it on Mac, on my phones, I just started, put it away, let it run, and then every couple of hours I check. So for me, that was a task, a whole day task. I actually got the package around lunchtime, put in the charging cable, and then started all of the updates. And I was done with installing Hogwarts Legacies at 1 a.m. in the morning. So, but to be fair, I was leaving this device sitting around, and yeah, just letting it do its thing, but kind of allocate maybe a day or at least 4 to 5 hours just to install all of these updates and install your first game, because Hogwarts Legacy was 74 gigabytes, so it took a while. First startup, also really important. I didn't know that. When you start up a game for the very first time, it will say something like installing shaders or something. This is for the graphics, and it does it every time. And that, again, I didn't know that. If I wouldn't have watched the reviews, I wouldn't have known that. So it installs these shaders for the graphics for the initial setup, which makes the load time after having installed the shaders so much more faster. Again, I didn't know that, so I was under the impression, okay, it's installed. last night at 1 a.m. Let's try it gaming and see the performance. And then it was like, okay, I need to start up and install the shaders. That took also, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes or whatever. So the initial startup time when you get this is quite long. But if you're aware of that, it's actually not a big deal. Now having gamed today for a couple of hours, again, performance can be stuttery at times, but I felt the graphics are amazing. These two speakers are incredible. If you make it loud enough, it's hard to hear probably. It kind of envelops you almost, and I really liked the sound. It's really, really good. Again, you have sometimes frame drops, but I feel like the graphics are amazing and the sound is cool. Performance is great. Again, you really need to manage expectations, what you're getting, and if you get a good deal, I think this is great. You also have Steam, so you don't miss out on your Steam library if you get this instead of a Steam Deck. There are other operating systems that you can kind of convert this into a Steam Deck, but I want to test this out before kind of changing this. But again, this is the first impression, and I probably will a proper review after 30 days, after really testing this, especially with more games. I want to play Diablo 4, huge fan of Diablo 3, maybe GTA 5, because I kind of want to visit Los Angeles again, really like that game. So many games I want to try and see how this performs over time. Did I? Yeah. I accidentally activated Google. So yeah, what else can I say after 2 days? Not much. Oh, one big thing that I really didn't like is, let me turn down the buttons. They are so loud. It's, how do you call these buttons? A, B, X, Y. They are extremely loud. It's a little bit annoying, to be honest, but it's okay. Oh, almost totally forgot. As I said, for me it's important to have this instant replay, and if you switch this, so the initial setup for the power button is when you push it, it goes to sleep. Because this is Windows, and this has been I'm just relaying information from other reviewers, but I can also confirm this a little bit after a couple of hours. If you push this and it goes to sleep, Windows does something in the back. And for example, these lights, although it was at sleep, and I was sitting on the couch, and then I was like, these lights went on. And I don't know what happened, but as far as I know, again, I'm relaying information from other reviews, Windows is doing something in the back when it's in sleep mode. And that is the reason why in sleep mode it still drains the battery, but there is a setting in the Windows setting to kind of change the behavior of the power button to hibernate. Startup will take a little bit longer, slightly longer. I was approximately measuring it. So when you push this and it goes from hibernate back to your splash screen where you push the fingerprint reader, it takes about 25 seconds, but then you go right into the game back again, hibernate. So it pushes everything to the SSD, saves the current state, and puts it in a hibernate mode where it doesn't deplete your battery that much. It's still kind of draining a little bit, but not as much as in sleep mode. So as I said, this mode from kind of being able to switch it off, put the device away, and then kind of playing it again, for now I have to say it works. I've seen a couple of reviews that said it doesn't work, but if you put it to hibernate, it actually works quite well. So yeah, that was my first impression of the ASUS ROG Xbox Ally, not the LAX. So for 2026, oh yeah, you see that? The lights went on, not sure. Maybe that was the confirmation. I'm now in hibernation mode, not sure. But in sleep mode, this actually would have lit up a little bit more. So from my perspective, as a casual gamer, if you manage expectations, if you kind of know, okay, there are a lot of updates that I need to install, if you know that your graphics have to be lowered, and the performance in some AAA games might be stuttering, again, take it with a grain of salt, it's just the second game. And very importantly, you can get this for a good price. As I said, a Steam Deck with 64 gigabytes refurbished was 600 to 680 euros here in Germany, not sure. And I got this in excellent condition for 450 euros. So if you can get that at a good price, I would say maybe take this at least into consideration. I really enjoy this for now, for the time being. So yeah, from my perspective, check it out. If you have questions, let me know. Then maybe I can either answer them or kind of give you some more informations once I finished my 30-day review. All right, if you have any tips and tricks for me how to increase performance with some of the settings, let me know. And if you have questions, comment below. If you want to see my other gaming related videos, check it up here. YouTube thinks they like the video down here. And don't forget to subscribe by clicking the button up here. That way we see each other in the next video. Thank you very much.